I've always hated the way people romanticize the phrase blood is thicker than water. Because if blood really meant loyalty, then my little sister wouldn't have almost destroyed my life for the sake of her reputation. My name is Nathan Reyes, I'm 22 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the scapegoat of my family. My younger sister, Isabella Izzy Reyes, for years younger than me, has always been the golden child. If she so much as sneezed, my mom would hover over her like she was made of glass. If I broke a plate, I was clumsy. If she skipped school, she was stressed. If I missed curfew, I was disrespectful. I grew up with this imbalance pressing down on me like a weight I could never shake. And by the time I hit adulthood, I had learned to expect it. Izzy lies, mom believes her, dad grumbles but doesn't intervene, and I get punished. That was the rhythm of my childhood. But I never expected that rhythm to one day escalate into handcuffs, a jail cell, and my entire future hanging by a thread. It all started on a Friday night. I was dead tired from working a double shift at the diner. I had my shoes off, uniform in a heap on the floor, and Netflix humming on my laptop when my phone buzzed. Izzy. I almost didn't answer. She never called me unless she wanted something. And sure enough, the second I picked up, her voice came through, high-pitched fake sweet. Izzy. Natty. Hey, big bro, listen, I need a huge favor. Like, you'd be saving my life. I rolled my eyes. What do you want, Iz? There was music in the background, loud voices, laughter. Then it clicked. She was throwing a party. Our parents were out of town for the week, some business trip in Chicago. Izzy. So funny thing, we ran out of alcohol. And like, everyone's counting on me. You're 21, right? Can you just swing by the store and grab us some? I sat up straighter. You're 18. Everyone at that party is underage. Izzy. Laughing. Relax. Nobody cares. We're just having fun. Please, Nate. I'll pay you back. You'll be the hero. I felt my blood pressure spike. No. I'm not risking jail because you want to impress your friends. You're insane. She scoffed. God, why are you always like this? You act like you're some saint. Fine, whatever. I'll figure it out. She hung up on me. I thought that was the end of it. I had no idea that decision, to say no, would change everything. The next morning, I was dead asleep when a pounding rattled my front door. Nathan Reyes. Police department, open up. My heart nearly stopped. I stumbled to the door in sweatpants, still half asleep, and when I opened it, there were two officers standing there, one of them holding handcuffs. Are you Nathan Reyes? Yes. You're under arrest for supplying alcohol to minors. The world tilted sideways. My brain couldn't even process the words. What? No, I didn't. I wasn't even. Turn around, hands behind your back. Cold steel closed around my wrists before I could think. My neighbors poked their heads out of their doors as I was led to the squad car. Shame burned in my chest like fire. At the station, I sat in a gray room with buzzing fluorescent lights while Detective Harper flipped through papers. Your sister, Isabella Reyes, stated you bought the alcohol for the party she hosted last night. Multiple attendees confirmed the same. I gaped at him. That's a lie. I was working until midnight. You can check the diner's cameras, the time clock, my debit card. Hell, I never even went near a liquor store. Harper raised an eyebrow. Funny, because your sister was very convincing. That was the moment I realized. Izzy hadn't just lied. She'd set me up. I spent a night in a holding cell. Cold concrete, no sleep, my entire body buzzing with panic. I kept thinking, if I get a felony for this, I'll never get a decent job. My whole life will be over. Because of her. The next morning, Dad flew back early. He stormed into the station like a hurricane, suit wrinkled from the flight, jaw clenched so tight I thought it might crack. He demanded to see the evidence. Within an hour, he had pulled the diner's security footage, my time-stamped receipts, and even the Uber log showing I'd gone straight home. I was cleared. Charges dropped. But the damage was already done. Dad drove me home in silence. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Finally, he said, she told me you supplied the alcohol. She looked me in the eyes and swore it. Do you understand what that means, Nathan? My throat felt like sandpaper. Yeah, it means she tried to ruin me. When we got home, Izzy was sitting on the couch, arms folded, pretending to pout. Mom sat beside her, stroking her hair like she was the victim. The second Dad slammed the door behind us, he exploded. Isabella Reyes. Stand up. His voice shook the walls. You stole liquor from my cabinet and blamed your brother for it? Do you realize he spent a night in jail? Izzy's face twisted. I didn't, Kyle said. Don't you dare lie again, Dad roared. I've seen the evidence. You framed your brother. Mom jumped in, panicked. Daniel, please. She's just a teenager. She made a mistake. A mistake. Dad's voice was ice. She could have destroyed Nathan's entire future. Izzy crossed her arms, glaring at me with pure hatred. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. She didn't regret it. Not even a little. That night, as I lay in my room, staring at the ceiling, a sick thought gnawed at me. If Dad hadn't checked the evidence, if he'd believed her the way Mom always did, my life would be over. Izzy had nearly succeeded. I clenched my fists, whispering into the dark, never again. I'll never let her do this to me again. I didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. Because Izzy wasn't done with me. Not by a long shot. I didn't sleep that night. Even though the charges were gone, even though Dad had defended me, I felt hollow. It's hard to explain what it does to you when your own sister looks at you, lies through her teeth, and watches you get dragged away in handcuffs. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a declaration of war. The next morning, Mom cornered me in the kitchen. Her eyes were red from crying, her voice desperate. Nathan, you need to understand. Izzy is young. She panicked. You're older, you're stronger, you can handle this kind of thing better than she can. Please, for the family's sake, can't you just let this go? I almost dropped the mug I was holding. Let it go. Mom, she almost ruined my life. Do you even understand that? A felony would have followed me forever. I'd never get a real job. I'd never be free of it. Her hands shook as she reached for me. I'm begging you, Nathan. If you take the blame, if you say it was your fault, it'll protect her. She has her whole future ahead of her. She could go to college, she could. I laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. So my future doesn't matter? It never has, right? As long as Izzy gets to shine, I can burn. She crumpled in front of me, literally dropped to her knees, clutching my arm. Please, you're my son too. But she's my baby. Don't take this away from her. Something inside me snapped. I pulled away and stared down at her. I'd rather live poor and struggling my whole life than let you slap a felony on me just to save her. I won't do it. I won't throw my life away for Izzy's lies. That was when Dad came in, and he saw Mom on her knees, saw me standing there shaking with rage. His face darkened like a storm cloud. Miriam, get up. Now. She froze, then slowly stood, wiping at her eyes. Dad's voice was steel. If you ever ask Nathan to sacrifice himself for her again, I will divorce you. Do you understand me? You've coddled her long enough. I've watched you make excuses for her for years. But this almost destroyed our son. I won't let it happen again. Mom stared at him like he'd slapped her. You can't mean that. I mean every word, Dad said. Then he looked at me. We're going to fix this. A week later, we were all sitting in a counselor's office, the four of us in stiff chairs arranged in a circle. The air was thick with tension. I could hear Izzy tapping her nails against the armrest, bored already. The counselor smiled politely. This is a safe space for honesty. Nathan, would you like to start by telling your family how you feel? My throat was dry, but I forced the words out. I feel like I've been living in hell for years. I feel like no matter what I did, it was never enough. Izzy lied, I got punished. Izzy cheated, I got blamed. And now she tried to frame me for a crime that could have ruined me forever. And you, Mom, you begged me to take the fall. Do you have any idea what that did to me? The room went silent. Mom's eyes brimmed with tears, but she didn't speak. I turned to Izzy. Do you have anything to say for yourself? She smirked, actually smirked, and said nothing. Something hot and bitter filled me. I started listing every lie she'd ever told. How she once stole money from Dad's wallet and pinned it on me. How she cut class and told everyone I drove her there. How she crashed Mom's car and swore I was the one who borrowed it. One by one, I laid them all bare, my voice shaking, my hands clenched so tight they hurt. With each lie I exposed, Mom's face paled. She didn't deny them. She didn't defend Izzy. She just sat there, frozen. When I finally stopped, the counselor looked at Izzy. Do you have anything to say in response? Izzy just rolled her eyes. He's being dramatic. None of that matters. That was the moment Dad stood up. Enough. I've heard all I need to hear. Isabella, you've crossed a line you can't come back from. His voice cracked with anger. You are guilty, and you will face the consequences. Izzy's jaw dropped. For once, she realized Dad wasn't playing around. The next week, we were in court. I watched as my sister, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, stood before a judge and pleaded guilty. She was sentenced to probation, fines, and mandatory therapy. Her reputation was shattered. When we got home that night, she stormed upstairs, slammed her door, and screamed into her pillow loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. Mom sobbed quietly on the couch, whispering, my baby," while Dad sat rigid, his face carved in stone. I thought maybe that would be the end of it. That justice had finally been served. But deep down, I knew better. Izzy wasn't done with me. She never would be. It was quiet in the house after the court case, but not the kind of quiet that feels peaceful. It was the kind of quiet where everyone's pretending things are normal while something poisonous festers underneath. Izzy barely looked at me. When she did, it was with eyes so cold I almost believed she hated me more than she loved herself. Mom stayed distant, fluttering around the house like a ghost, while Dad buried himself in work. For a while, I tried to convince myself that maybe it was over. She'd gotten probation, she was in therapy, she'd been caught red-handed. What more could she do? But the truth is, people like my sister don't stop. They stew, they plot, and they wait for their chance to strike again. She left a few months later, moving to California with some guy she'd only been dating for a few weeks. His name was Mark. Tall, slick hair, fake smile, the type who smelled like he thought cologne could cover up insecurity. I only met him once before they took off, but I could tell he wasn't with her for love. He was with her for the Reyes money, and Izzy was too desperate to prove she was grown up to see it. When she left, Dad didn't even say goodbye. He just shut the door behind her and muttered, "Good riddance." Mom cried for days, but I could tell there was relief under the grief. Relief that she didn't have to keep making excuses for her anymore. It was about a year later when I heard the whispers. I was coming home from work one night when I overheard Mom and Dad arguing in the kitchen. "You can't just cut her off completely," Mom was saying, her voice trembling. Dad's response was like ice. "She made her choice. She framed our son, Miriam. She almost destroyed him. She gets nothing." I froze in the hallway. I knew exactly what he meant. The will. My heart hammered in my chest. He wasn't just angry at her. He was disowning her. And a part of me, the part still raw from those handcuffs, from the humiliation of that jail cell, felt a surge of vindication. For once, the golden child wasn't being protected. For once, she was facing real consequences. But of course, Izzy found out. It was 2 a.m. when my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered groggily, and her voice hit me like a slap. "You think you're clever, don't you?" she hissed. "Writing about me on the internet, turning everyone against me. You ruined my life." It took me a second to realize what she meant. The Reddit post. I had written it anonymously months earlier, just to vent, just to scream into the void. I never expected it to blow up. I never expected thousands of strangers to comment, calling me strong, calling her a monster. But she had found it. "I told the truth," I said quietly. "You made me look like a psycho," she shrieked. "Now Dad's cutting me out of the will, and it's all your fault." My blood went cold. "He cut you out because you lied, Izzy. Because you tried to ruin me." There was a pause. Then her voice turned venomous. "You should have never been born. Mom should have aborted you when she had the chance." The line went dead. I sat there in the dark, phone pressed to my ear, shaking. Her words burned into me. She wasn't just angry. She hated me enough to wish I didn't exist. The next morning, Mom and Dad called me into the living room. Mom's eyes were swollen, Dad's face grim. "She called us too," Mom whispered. "She said the same things." Dad nodded. "She's done. She's out of the will permanently. She's blocked on every phone. She's not welcome here anymore." Mom broke then, sobbing, clutching her chest. "I was a terrible mother to you," she said through her tears. "I let her take everything from you. I see it now. I see what I did. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, but I'm sorry, Nathan. I'm so sorry." For the first time in years, I saw sincerity in her eyes. And for the first time, I believed she finally understood. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling again, but this time the fear was gone. It was replaced by something else. Something dangerous. Hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, the golden child's reign was over. But I should have known better. Because when Izzy loses power, she doesn't disappear. She finds a new weapon. And the next one she chose was something none of us saw coming. It started with a knock on the door. Saturday morning, gray skies, the kind of weather that makes the whole house feel heavy. Dad was reading the paper, Mom was watering her plants, and I was sipping coffee when it came. A hesitant, almost timid knock. I opened the door and nearly dropped my mug. Izzy stood there, pale, thin, her once perfect hair tangled like she hadn't brushed it in days. She wasn't alone. Beside her was Mark, that slick, empty-eyed boyfriend who always looked like he was calculating how much money people were worth. But this time, he wasn't smirking. He looked uncomfortable, nervous. And then I saw it, Izzy's hand resting protectively over her stomach. "I need to talk to Mom and Dad," she said, her voice shaking just enough to almost sound human again. My chest tightened. "You've got to be kidding me." Dad appeared behind me, his jaw instantly locking into stone when he saw her. "You're not welcome here." "Please," Izzy whispered. "Just hear me out." It was the first time in years I'd heard her say please. Reluctantly, we let her in. She sat on the edge of the couch, one hand never leaving her belly, while Mark hovered in the corner like a shadow. Mom sat across from her, tissues already in her hand, while Dad stood with his arms crossed, ready to kick her out at the first sign of a lie. And then she dropped the bomb. "I'm pregnant." The room went silent. Even the clock on the wall seemed to stop ticking. "I know I messed up," she continued, her eyes darting between all of us. "I know I hurt you, Nathan. I know I hurt this family. But this baby is innocent. And I don't want my child to grow up without grandparents. I want to make things right." My stomach twisted. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe this was her rock-bottom moment, that the baby had changed her, that she was finally capable of remorse. But the way her eyes flickered, sharp, calculating, testing our reactions, I knew better. This wasn't an apology. This was a strategy. Dad saw it too. His voice was ice. "You think a child erases what you did? You think you can manipulate us with a grandchild now?" Izzy flinched, but Mark stepped forward. "With all due respect, sir, this isn't about the past. It's about the future. Izzy needs support. She needs her family. And frankly, this child deserves an inheritance." There it was. The real motive. Money. Always money. Dad's laugh was bitter. "Over my dead body." Mom started crying again, but this time I wasn't sure it was just heartbreak. There was guilt in her tears, yes, but there was also something else, relief. Relief that Dad was finally drawing the line she never could. "Izzy," I said softly, my voice trembling despite my rage. "Do you even love this baby? Or is it just another weapon to keep control?" Her eyes snapped to mine, and for a moment I saw the truth. Not regret. Not love. Fear. Fear that her last card might not work. She stood abruptly, smoothing her shirt over her stomach. "If you want to throw away your own blood, fine. But don't come crying to me when you realize what a mistake you made." Mark muttered something under his breath, grabbed her arm, and they stormed out. The door slammed so hard the walls shook. The silence that followed was suffocating. Mom collapsed into the couch, sobbing into her hands. Dad sank into his chair, exhausted, like the fight had drained 20 years out of him. And me? I just sat there numb. Because deep down, I knew it wasn't over. A month later, proof of that arrived in the form of a lawyer's letter. Izzy was contesting the will, claiming that Dad was of unsound mind when he disinherited her, claiming that I had manipulated him, claiming, unbelievably, that I was dangerous and she feared for her child's safety if I stayed in the family picture. Reading those words made me physically sick. She was still trying to destroy me. Even pregnant, even supposedly starting a new chapter of her life, I was the villain in her story. But this time, something was different. This time, Dad didn't waver. He hired the best lawyer in town. Mom, shaking but resolute, gave a sworn statement about years of favoritism, manipulation, and abuse. And me? I finally told everything. Every theft, every lie, every time she set me up to fail. It all went on record. The case dragged for months. Izzy never showed up in court, only Mark, always alone, always with excuses about her health. And then one day, our lawyer announced that she had withdrawn her claim entirely. No explanation. Just silence. We found out why weeks later. Mark had left her, took what little money she had and disappeared. And Izzy, our golden child, our manipulator, our destroyer, was alone. Truly alone. I don't know where she is now. Sometimes, in the quiet hours of the night, I wonder about the baby. Did it even exist? Or was it just another lie she spun to keep us hooked? Did she really carry life inside her? Or was the bump just smoke and mirrors? I'll probably never know. What I do know is this. My family finally saw me. Not as the scapegoat, not as the second-best son, not as the punching bag for Izzy's chaos. They saw me as myself. And for the first time, I didn't feel invisible. Sometimes, Justice doesn't look like a victory parade. Sometimes it looks like survival, like holding on through years of torment until the truth finally claws its way into the light. Izzy may have been the golden child, but in the end, gold was just glitter over rot. And rot always eats itself alive. If you made it this far, thank you for watching this emotional roller coaster. What would you have done if your own sibling tried to destroy your life? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be reading them. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one.